We have been trapped in here by a masked agent.
In response to the members of Congress showing up, the federal detention facility was placed on lockdown.
Okay, this is Sunset Park Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York, and according to some members of Congress, they were trapped between the front gate and the front door of this detention facility by a masked man.
We cannot determine who it is because he refuses to show his face.
Now, conveniently, media was there to cover the event for me and you, and Homeland Security is calling this deeply unserious. So, of course, we have to cover what happened at this detention facility. Now, before we start the video, make sure to please like the video. It's the #1 way you guys are helping this channel, but it also helps others see the videos as well, and I think people want to see how Homeland Security called out these members of Congress.
As soon as the 3 local congressional Democrats entered the gate to the Metropolitan Detention Center, a masked agent locked it behind them. He ignored calls to identify himself and then proceeded to lock the front door of the federal jail.
Okay, for those of you that are subscribed to my channel, you know this is a very common occurrence nowadays, where members of Congress, Democrats, will show up to these detention facilities and say, we are here for oversight, but they show up unannounced, even though the new policy says you can't show up unannounced anymore.
This is Congressman Adriano Espaillat. We're here to visit the detention center. We were greeted by a masked officer. We have been trapped in here by a masked agent with no name and whom we cannot determine who it is because he refuses to show his face.
Okay, so please leave your comments down below how you feel about this. I noticed there was a lot of emphasis on this one guy who was wearing a mask and how he trapped them behind the gate. We'll get to that in a second, but I have to point this out. I don't know if there's a connection here. I'll let you guys decide. These 3 members of Congress happen to be involved with trying to push a law of removing the mask of ICE agents. Which is why Homeland Security has decided to call this entire event deeply unserious. I've never seen them say that about anything. Again, this happens all the time, and they're just calling it deeply unserious. Now, real quick, make sure to please subscribe to my channel so I can keep you guys up to date with more stories just like this.
As soon as the 3 local congressional Democrats entered the gate to the Metropolitan Detention Center, a masked agent locked it behind them. He ignored calls to identify himself and then proceeded to lock the front door of the federal jail.
Okay, let's just identify exactly what we're seeing here, because again, the whole perception or the narrative is that, oh my gosh, these congressional members, they've been trapped and locked up between the front gate and the front door of the facility in which they're trying to do oversight. But we're forgetting the part about the mob of media members who are on the other side of the gate. In fact, in this clip, within 0.1 seconds, you can actually see one of the media members is on the other side of the gate. But then when you scroll back a little bit, you can really see how many media members there are. And again, if you're a security guard, regardless if you're a Republican or Democrat, and your job is to protect a facility, if all of these people are trying to enter the facility, of course you're going to close the front gate and lock the front door and figure out what exactly is going on here.
This is Congressman Adriano Espaillat. We're here to visit the detention center. We were greeted by a masked officer. We have been trapped in here by a masked agent with no name and whom we cannot determine who it is because he refuses to show his face. So we're trapped here.
Again, they keep saying we're trapped here, but I have to back it up even more. Again, it's rather convenient. I don't know if this was set up. I'm just pointing it out. all of these media members, or at least people with cameras, they all happen to be filming this right before they're walking into the facility. And we know, because the camera angle's behind them, we also have somebody following them with a camera. So again, Homeland Security is straight up calling this out as a performance or very unserious.
Of immigrants. We know for a fact there's over 100 immigrants, 105 immigrants that are being detained here. And we have the jurisdiction and the responsibility to come here and have oversight over this operation. Again, we were greeted by a masked agent.
Again, I'm not trying to push this narrative. It's almost as if this is the narrative. There is so much emphasis on this masked man, and I just have to be transparent here. These members of Congress happen to be involved with this bill or law that's trying to get passed, in which they want to uncover the masked men. I don't know if there's any connection here, but there's a lot of focus on that masked man.
He refused to give us his name, who refused to show his face, and who proceeded to lock the door, keeping us, in essence, incarcerated here because we cannot go in or out.
Look, it's his wording, not mine. He said, in essence, we've been locked up. But I have to point this out. Here are the facts. This is straight from DHS, Homeland Security. These members did not follow proper protocol and schedule their visit. Instead, they brought a gaggle of media to drive clicks and fundraising emails. As ICE law enforcement have seen a surge in assaults, disruptions, and obstructions to enforcement, including by members of Congress themselves, and we've covered that on my channel, any request to tour processing centers and field offices must be approved by the Secretary of Homeland Security. And by the way, they do approve the oversight. If they did not approve the oversight, that would be illegal and a massive problem. Visits to detention facilities requests should be made within sufficient time to prevent interference with the President's Article 2 authority to oversee executive department functions. A week is sufficient to ensure no intrusion on the President's constitutional authority.
Any conclusions? We did get a response via email, basically reiterating their flawed interpretation of the law, which says that it requires us to have pre-notice before coming to this facility that houses now over 100 immigrants. One of the most dangerous facilities in the federal system, which has been deemed barbaric by judges, and also which judges have reduced the sentence of some of the inmates because of the horrible conditions.
So I hope you caught that. The member of Congress has admitted they are well aware of what the policies are, but they're shifting it and throwing it back to Homeland Security and saying, well, Homeland Security, they are not interpreting the law correctly. Now, we've already done this a million times. You can just go through my channel and look up all of the members of government who have been denied access. It's the same exact thing in almost every single video. They know what the new policy is, but they don't like the new policy because according to these members of government, that new policy cannot interfere with the law. Now, I have to point this out. I find it rather interesting that the members of Congress who visit these facilities always leave this one thing out. And the document you're looking at is called ICE Facility Visits for Members of Congress and Staff. You see, back in the day before we needed notice, as in Homeland Security, it is true, highlighted, members of Congress were allowed to visit unannounced. But remember, this document talks about members of Congress and staff. You see right down here, congressional staff, ICE requires at least 24 hours advance notice of an upcoming visit by congressional staff. Failure to meet this requirement will result in denied access to the facility. So, if you are a security guard and you see members of Congress approaching you, and behind them is a gaggle of people with cameras, they're in suits, they're with clipboards, how do you know who that is? Of course, you're going to tell these members of Congress to stop what you're doing because you know what? Within the own provisions, congressional staff could fall under that category if they're trying to cross the gate, if they're trying to enter the facility, if they're trying to dock anything surrounding that member of Congress. These congressional members need to give 24-hour notice if they're going to bring staff.
So there are some Democrats now who want to make moves to identify ICE officers who were involved in these deportation proceedings. It's a so-called visible act. Here are the co-sponsors: Cory Booker, Alex Padilla among them, Richard Blumenthal, Tammy Duckworth. What this act would do would require a clear display of agency name or acronym when somebody is effecting an arrest, clear display of officer name or badge number, no face coverings that obscure officer's identity, with exceptions for safety or specific operations. Your response to all of this, I mean, these officers go out on the streets, they're fully identified. They identify themselves. They're wearing body armor that has the name of the agency on it, but for safety reasons, not wanting to be doxxed, a lot of them are wearing face coverings.
Again, these Democrats are upset that this masked agent would not identify himself, even though it's his job to protect this building, and he has all of these people with cameras shoving it in his face and asking, "Who are you?" He does not report to these media members. He does not report to these members of Congress. And again, we're just using him as this pawn in a political game. Like, look at this masked agent. He did not identify himself. But to Homeland Security, there is a broader objective here for the members of Congress or Democrats who are trying to pass these types of laws.
You're seeing them wear face coverings because the Democrats continue to take the sides of the criminals and put our ICE officers in danger. You saw this over the last couple of weeks. Arrest numbers continue to increase from ICE's standpoint. And with that, what we're seeing is a huge increase of violence against ICE officers, up over 700%. These ICE officers are serving the American people, putting the American people first. And the Democrats want to go after their families and their kids and die them and make sure that they're unsafe. And in reality, they are just enforcing the immigration laws that are on the books in the United States. They are keeping the American people safe.
And that's actually a point that Homeland Security likes to make. Like, hey, you're going in on Homeland Security and these deportation operations. Those are the laws that you helped create and you help enforce as well. So to all of a sudden try to unmask the agents when we know, and again, if you're subscribed to my channel, especially in sanctuary cities, these agents, oh my gosh, their families are under threat all the time. Just watch my videos of what happens in Portland. These agents and their families, they get posted on the street signs around the facility in which they work in. There are underground forums that talk about their families. It's really bad. So now all of a sudden, you have these members of Congress who are like, nah, just remove the mask, it'll be fine. It's already been proven that with the mask, it's already terrible.
There are officers here who have been attacked. There are officers who have families, and they are well known in their communities. And they operate in a way to whereas many people don't let their families, don't let other family members know, don't let their community know that they work for ICE. There is a sense of danger. The mask is a sense of security for them, and they feel as though, like, you know, many of them own businesses. They do things outside of ICE. And it isn't the same world. It isn't something that, in a sense, right, we can be proud of our job, but people are not proud of us, and we are a target right now.
Okay, so I went to Adriano, one of the members of Congress who was trapped behind the gate. I went to his social media to show you guys that it looks like the majority of his comments are not really on his side as far as believing that he was trapped according to him. In fact, they're siding with Homeland Security. When you scroll down, make an appointment like everyone else, illegal alien lover. Then you have, there is no oversight when you're being dishonest, lying sack of you know what. It is unreasonable and inconsistent with standard security practice for members of Congress to demand entry for large, unvetted groups at detention facilities without prior coordination. And like we have identified from the very beginning, they showed up with all of these cameras. And here's the thing. There are members of Congress who are Democrats who have always done oversight, and now because of these stunts, they're not allowed to do oversight anymore as far as just showing up unannounced. Again, I do want to throw that out there. There are some Democrats who used to show up unannounced and it wasn't a problem. Now it is a problem because of things like this.
This is Congressman Adriano Espaillat. We're here to visit the detention center. We were greeted by a masked officer. We have been trapped in here by a masked agent with no name and whom we cannot determine who it is because he refuses to show his face.
And by the way, that entire sequence, that video, that was posted by the member of Congress himself. That was edited, posted, he had overlays of audio, that was all posted by him, and that is why Homeland Security, and it looks like the majority of comments, they're just not buying it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I think we're up to like number 10 for the amount of videos I've made surrounding this topic because it keeps happening, but this is the first time where members of Congress said they've been trapped. So yeah, let me know how you guys feel about that. Again, at the end of the day, I love oversight. We should have oversight, but unfortunately, there seems to be a problem where the oversight has been taken advantage of, and that this has become a fundraising campaign or a way to get exposure, and that's why Donald Trump has that executive order to not allow this to happen anymore. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. God bless, and we'll see you all later.